Welcome, everybody. Can you all hear me? Yes? Okay, very good. Thank you for the thumbs up. Okay, well, I'm going to give my opening spiel, give people a chance to join us. We have a large number of you that signed up for this program. Thank you so much. That's very heartwarming. Plymouth Village history is really near and dear to my heart. So I'm so glad to see so many people interested as well. And especially for signing up for yet another Zoom meet. I'm sure we are all Zoomed out. So thank you very much. And I think this is, when I started this idea, I wanted to talk about Plymouth and all of its villages and how they developed. And what I found out is that there is a lot to talk about. So we have decided that we are going to break this down into a series instead, just to make sure that we're doing all of the villages right. So this first session is going to be just on the Plymouth Town Center, where it all began. And then we will be doing more villages as time goes on. Our next session is scheduled for May, and that's what we will be doing Chiltonville, Wellingsley, and Jabez Corner, Warren Ave, that area. I just wanted to check and see if we have things recording at this point. I think the red light is on. There we go. So welcome, everybody. The program today is It Takes a Village. This is part one. We are going to be talking about Plymouth Center and how it developed. My name is Julie Burrey. I am the archivist for the local history room at the Plymouth Public Library. I also serve in the reference department. And I have my colleague with me today, Tom Cummiskey, also in the reference department, but he is also the senior and outreach librarian, and he has so very kindly offered to help me with all of the behind the scenes tech today. So a huge thank you to Tom for helping me out with this. So like I said, there's a lot to talk about with Plymouth history, and I think I've got about 53 slides to go through. It was so very tough to narrow things down. I am a lover of old maps and old ephemera, so it was really hard to leave things out. So I am going to just start right ahead with things and start the program. So here we are at the beginning, and what we're looking at here is Samuel de Champlain's map from 1605.
Excuse me, just a second, Julie. Your screen is not sharing.
Oh, goodness. Okay. Thank you. Why not?
Okay, now it's working. You just have to get to the right screen.
Okay. Can you all see that now? Okay. Are you guys able to see this?
No.
Oh, goodness. Okay.
Maybe go back to your go back to your original opening slide, maybe. There you go. All
Okay,
right.
are we
And
there
sorry
now?
about the captions. Hopefully they're on now. Thank you.
Okay. All right, so here we are. And so this is the 1605 map made by Samuel de Champlain during his voyages. This is what he recorded coming into Plymouth Harbor. And you can see at the time, it was a village known as Patuxet. It was a very vibrant home to the Wampanoag people. Lots of villages here that you can see all around the Plymouth Harbor right in here. One thing I just want you to see is right at the top here. He called it Port St. Louis. So then after the Pilgrims came in 1620, what we're looking at is some of the earliest depictions of what the original colony looked like. So over here on this side, on the left-hand side, we have Bradford's sketch of 1620 and how the house lots were laid out. He wrote this all down. This is several decades later, so he's writing this down from memory. But you can basically see there's the main street going right here, and then the cross street right here. This is the highway right in here. And so on the right-hand side, we have just a further developed view of this, just to orient yourselves. We are up right here. This is Fort Hill. This is the Burial Hill area. And we're looking down the main street, which is now called Leiden Street. And we're looking at the harbor here. And then this is the main street, the cross street right here. So this is the main intersection of the Plymouth colony. And you can see some of the names here of the original house lots that were laid out. And then here we just have an artist's rendition of what the colony looked at like around 1622. And again, we're just looking at the top here. We've got the fort up on the hill, all the way down Leiden Street. And then right here, we have that cross street, Main Street. So this is still main intersection in downtown Plymouth. So this will be kind of our orienting spot. I'll just point out right here on the bottom left-hand corner, this is called the Common House. And we'll keep seeing that throughout. And then just, we're going to take a look at this little boat right here. We are going to then now pretend that we are on this boat and we're looking at the backside of these properties. So we're now on Town Brook, and we're looking at the back view of the location of these earliest house lots, or they were called, often referred to as the Mearsteads. A mere is a boundary, and so a mearstead is the land within a certain boundary. So what we can see right here, this house right here, is the location of that first common house at the bottom of Leiden that we just looked at previously. And we're just going to take a quick look at Leiden Street view today. And here we are on Leiden Street today. And again, here we are. This is the bottom of Leiden. And we have the common house right in here that we can see. And we'll just take a look up Leiden Street, and we can see all the lovely historic houses. And then here we are at that main intersection that I was telling you about. Main Street crosses right in here. All right, And now we'll go back. So this is now Plymouth Center. We're looking at the map from 1701, or depicting 1701. And so just to orient ourselves again, here is that main street, Leiden, right here, and the cross street right in here. But you can also see there are a lot more roads that have developed, a lot more properties. And especially on the other side, on the south side of Town Brook, there's a lot of development going on as well. So 80 years on, we're seeing quite a bit that has happened in the downtown. And the population is estimated to be about 600 people at this point. So now moving forward, this is Plymouth, right on the cusp of the Revolutionary War. This is about 1775. And again, we're right here. This is Plymouth Center right in here. And here's that lovely intersection again. What I love about this map is that you can start seeing, look at all of these wharves that are now starting to be developed. So Plymouth is now becoming a commercial entity. There's lots of shipping going on. And what I also love to show is that we start seeing development not only in the town center, but you can start seeing houses and structures now stretching along that main street, moving north and also moving south right around here. And just in these little areas right here, these are great because they show just the little seedlings of future villages. This is, you know, Wellingsley, Jabez Corner area right in here, which we'll be talking about in the next session. So the next map, we start looking at Plymouth Center. This is about 1830. So we're about moving forward another 50, 60 years. And again, more development, a lot more structures. We still have the wharves, so shipping is still very strong in Plymouth. But I don't know if you can see that along Town Brook, there's a lot of manufacturing that is now starting to happen. We have several forges, we have a factory, we've got a rolling mill, and we have rope walks right in the downtown. So even before the cordage company started in the, I think about 1833, ropes were still being produced, even prior to that, right in the downtown. And at this point, Plymouth has, it's got the county seat. And so we have the courthouse here, the jail. There is the townhouse. There is a poorhouse. There are banks. There is the museum. Lots of churches at this point. So Plymouth is really bustling coastal village at this point. And so now we're going to see, so this is what you would have seen at that point. This is a view of Plymouth Center. This is from Long Beach. So we're looking across the harbor and we're looking at Plymouth Center. This is about 1845. I love this drawing. We've got Brewster Street right here and the wharves right in here. Lots of fantastic details. You can see the church spires. I don't know if this is any artistic license, but right here, it looks like there is a windmill, and I would love to know if this really did exist or if this is just the artist having some fun. It's super sweet. I love it. So this is pretty much Plymouth in the mid-19th century. And so what I thought we would do next is, because of Plymouth's tourism industry that has been around for quite some time, We are very, very lucky to have so many postcard views of Plymouth. So I thought we would take a tour of Plymouth Center using these postcards and some of my favorite maps, the bird's eye maps of Plymouth from 1882 and from 1910. So this kind of worked when I was practicing this, but I'm going to be toggling back and forth between some postcards and the maps. But let me know if it gets to be too much. And I just love this one right here because, you know, they're lounging on the beach, but they are dressed to the nines. You know, they've got their bowlers and their suits and their parasols. I love it. So the two maps that I want us to take a look at is the bird's eye map from 1882. I'm just going to switch over. We are at the Library of, no, this is the Leventhal Map Center through the Boston Public Library. These are great because you can click on them and you can zoom on in and get so much detail. These are beautifully rendered maps. I love them. I lose a lot of time looking around in these maps. But we are going to take a look at our starting point is, well, just to give you our orientation again, this is Leiden Street, and here's the cross street and Main Street. But we're going to start south of the town brook, and we are going to be right here on the training green, right here. This is where we're going to start our tour. And let's go to the training green. So this is the view of the training green. This is looking west, and this is a monument here to those that served in the I believe. I could be wrong on that one. And this is also the green where it's called the training green because this is where they would muster and do their practicing here. And I just want to show right in this corner right here, this is the location. It's no longer here, but the very first high school was located here, and it was quite a grand structure. You can see it right here. But no longer there, and we have this empty lot. But we are going to walk down this street right here. And our next stop is the Advent Christian Church. This is on Pleasant Street down near Robinson Street. We're heading towards the town center. And this is just one of many churches in Plymouth. Even though it was sort of the seat of Congregationalism and Puritanism, there were so many churches to serve everybody's faith in Plymouth, especially during the 19th century. There was just an explosion of churches in Plymouth, and this is just one of them. So now we're heading towards the town brook, and we are looking at, again, we're this on the back end, a little bit farther up on the town brook, and we're looking at the back end of the Summer Street neighborhood. This is the location, an early neighborhood of a lot of early housing stock of Plymouth. And unfortunately, it was largely demolished in the 1960s as part of the urban renewal project. But we're going to just take a look at some of their survivors. This is a garden view of the Richard Sparrow House, which was built in about 1640. So this is the back end. This is what was facing the Watertown Brook. And we'll just take a look at the front, the street view. And so this is the Sparrow House right in here. And today, this is also the Sparrow House gift shop, a lovely shop. I encourage you all to visit if you can. The proceeds from the gift shop support the Sparrow House, which is now run as a museum. But the view that you see right here, these 4 structures right here are some of the few survivors from that 1960s urban renewal. And so here's another view of that. Here we have Spring Street coming across, and this is now what we call Jenny Pond. And the Jenny Grist Mill will be right around here. So when Spring Street and Summer Street, they were cleared of its early buildings, this allowed for a new entrance up to Burial Hill. And that's what we see right here. That is, if you continue up this road, and right in here is where we're heading next. We're going to go up to Burial Hill. So here we are. We are now at sort of the top of Leiden Street, the very top. This is where you can see some of the earliest stones of the pilgrims. There are a handful that still survive from prior to 1700. But there are also a lot of later monuments and a lot of familiar Plymouth names. And just a beautiful, lovely view from on top of Burial Hill. And where we are going to go next is down the stairs right here. And we're going to head into Town Square. And so here we are. So we're now in Town Square. And again, we're standing right at that intersection of Leiden and Main Street. And what we can see here is we've got the 1749 courthouse building here. And again, because Plymouth was the county seat, there were court proceedings, and this is the courthouse that was built in 1749. It is still owned by the town, and it is run as a museum. Please visit. And then in the center is this lovely, lovely arts and crafts building. This is the first parish church that was built in 1899, currently undergoing some major restorations. There are some absolutely fabulous stained glass windows in this church. And if you can't see, this is the set of stairs that we came down from Burial Hill. And then right on this very corner, you can see just a little bit of Church of the Pilgrimage, which was built in 1840, which is still there. So this is pretty much the same view of Town Square that we see today. So you have to imagine yourself standing. We're just going to take a quarter turn to our left. And this is where we are at. We are at the where the new post office building was built in 1914. And we have, so this was built on the original site of William Brewster's house lot. And this is also right after they extended Main Street and created a new bridge so that this then becomes the main entrance into Plymouth rather than going straight into Town Square. And I also found this lovely interior shot of the post office. And this is all still there. And the post office building underwent a restoration in the last 5 to 8 years, I have to say. They did a really nice job on it. It's looking very nice. So we're doing another quarter turn, and now we are looking straight down Leiden Street. And so we can see, again, this is where that kind of tucked in the corner here, that first house, that common house is. we can see it goes all the way down to the waterfront right here. And now we're doing another quarter turn again. And now we're looking right up Main Street. We're looking north. And so now on this corner, this here is on the location of the original house lot of Governor Bradford. So we are going to head down Main Street, and we're going to end up down here, which is called Shirley Square. So that's, and I love in here, you can see the trolley lines coming down. I love that. So on the right, about halfway down, we have the Central Fire Station. This was built in 1895. It's a nice, robust building. And many of the locals joining me today might know it as the Sam Diego's Restaurant. It was converted into a restaurant, and so the building still exists and is very nicely, adaptively reused today. So we're going to look a little bit more north. We're just going to, just to orient yourself, just look at this tree right here. And you can still see the same tree right into the next postcard. So we're right in Shirley Square right here. This is kind of the end of what was the original downtown. You have the cross streets. We have North Street coming in here. We have Middle Street and then Leiden Street. This is sort of the hub of the downtown. And right in Shirley Square, we have the Winslow Warren House. And so this was built in 1726. This is still right there in the center of Shirley Square. It was originally built for a British general, John Winslow. But what I would like for it to be more known for is it was the home of Mercy Otis Warren and James Warden. They moved into this house in 1757. Mercy was a noted author and a historian. It was in this house that she wrote many of her most well-known pieces. She wrote the first history of the Revolutionary War written by a woman. So this was like Plymouth's really power couple. They were very involved in local politics and in the burgeoning country's politics. She was an avid corresponder. She wrote letters to a lot of the well-known figures of the day. And all of her letters, her correspondence are currently in the Massachusetts Archive. But one of the fantastic, notable people of Plymouth. And right here is her portrait by Copley right here. Just a lovely blue dress. And so here's the Winslow Warren House right here. We're going to take a look down North Street just a little bit. We're going to take a look at a few of the properties down here, see what we can see. So this house, it's on the south side of North Street. And this house was famous for its blue blinds, and throughout its history, it served different purposes. It was a private home, then it changed to a nursing home, and then it was known for a while as a tea and gift shop. And it's now today the Blue Blinds Bakery. And then a little further down the street, I would be remiss if I did not mention, this is the Russell Library, built in 1902 by McKim, Mead and White, a famous architectural firm. And this was the first sort of permanent house of the Plymouth Public Library prior to its current location. And let me see. So that is now the home of the Plymouth Art Guild. and they have adaptively reused it. Now it's, you can have classes, and there are art exhibits going on there. So now we're heading a little bit down Main Street, and we're getting to the 1820 courthouse. So this was built when the 1749 courthouse was no longer large enough to serve the county. This has been restored and is now part of the new town hall complex. And same thing, we're going to just take a look at this intersection a little bit. The next postcard, we are going to be standing right about here. And it has turned to winter. So we are now, we've got the courthouse right at our backs, and we are looking straight down Brewster Street and right down to the waterfront again. And look at this sleigh. I love this. This is lovely. We're going to take a look at this church right here next. We'll let these guys continue with their work of clearing the snow. All right. So here we are. This is the Methodist Episcopal Church. Just a beautiful Victorian Gothic building, built in 1844. And then later in its life, it was the Beth Jacob Synagogue. And now currently it is the home to the Spire Center for Performing Arts. And so they have done a lot of work on this building. And so now this is where there are a lot of musical shows. There are class and performance spaces in here as well. And then right across the street, so the church would have been right here, or the spire as it's now called is right here. Across the street, we have the Bartlett Russell Hedge House built in 1803. It's just a lovely example of federal architecture. This is listed on the National Register of Historic Places. It was built for Joseph Bartlett, who was a sea captain. But it is currently now part of a bank. This building still exists. And let's see, the next building up. So we're going to go up this little street a little bit, and we're going to look at the building that's behind this building here. And here we have the Registry of Deeds. This was built in 1903. Lovely classical architecture here. And so this served as the Registry of Deeds for almost 100 years. And then it was converted into private residences once the new registry was completed out on Overy Street around 2006. So then moving up a little bit onto that main street, which is at this point now called Court Street, we have the Pilgrim Hall Museum. And this is a fantastic resource for the town of Plymouth. This is the nation's longest continually operating public museum. And what it is really known for is its fantastic collection of early artifacts of Plymouth's history. A lot of the artifacts that are associated with the Mayflower passengers. And they are open to the public with limited hours. They usually have some really fantastic exhibits going on. And they also have the patents, the land patents that have been restored also on exhibit. So this is the building. There were later additions off to this side to the left here. And next up, a little bit more up Court Street, we are looking at the armory of the Standish Guards. And they were the ones that would muster on the training green, our starting point. So this is their armory right here. Built in 1906, their previous armory, it looks like that was located, I think, more towards the center of town, right around where the town brook was. And then this lovely Gothic structure over here is St. Peter's Church. And again, you can see the lovely trolley tracks right here. And these stairs, I love these, but they are no longer there. All right. And you know, maybe we should do a check-in with the map so you guys can orient yourself just a little bit. We have we went down here. We went into Burial Hill, right in here, dropped down into Town Square, and we're now moseying our way up Main Street. And right here is the courthouse, right here. And so now we are heading towards this farther end right here. So we're now at Memorial Hall. This was built in 1924. This was really started out as just a place where veterans and soldiers and their families could get together and have social occasions and meeting space. So in the beginning, there were a lot of dinners and things like roller derbies going on in the building. It is now today run by the town. It is a 1,500 seat venue. It has hosted some very famous people in its past: Bob Dylan, Pat Benatar, Air Supply, Robert Cray. This is also the home of the Plymouth Philharmonic. And up until very recently, it was a popular site for a lot of the graduations in the town. So the interesting thing about this site is that this was the original location of the Hedge House. And so the Hedge House we'll be taking a look at a little bit later on, but it was preserved and moved to a different location on Water Street in 1919 to make room for the Memorial Hall. All right. And then next up, this is right at the intersection of Samoset Street and Court Street. This kind of marks the sort of end boundary of what would be sort of the downtown. And just to orient on the map a little bit, go back here. We are now looking at Samoset House right here. So this is Samoset Street and this is Court Street. So Samoset Street was, Samoset House was one of the several large hotels in Plymouth to serve the visitors that were coming to see all of the historic attractions in Plymouth. Really grand hotels, and unfortunately, none of them survive today. I wish we had just one. I love these, they're wonderful. Oh, there was even a bowling alley building to the back of Samoset House. They had a little bowling alley too. So now we're turning around, and on the opposite end, we see the railroad station. And this is Depot Ave, which is now called Park Ave. Right here, it's two lovely gentlemen. And so this is where the railroad came in right into Plymouth, right into the center, bringing all of those tourists in. And right behind the railroad station, there were also, you can see, large manufacturing starting to happen right in the downtown. We have two large factories right here, right behind the railroad station for obvious reasons, for transportation of goods. Right here, we've got the Puritan Mills, and they were woolen manufacturers. And then located right on Park Place, just right up from the railroad station, started out as the Frederick Jones Shoe Factory, but later known as the Emery Boot and Shoe Factory. Unfortunately, both of these buildings are no longer in the downtown area. But you can see that downtown and the waterfront is really heavily vested in manufacturing at this point. So then also right on Water Street, we are now getting to, we've turned the corner and we are heading right down Park Place. These are the factories I just showed you. Here's the train station. And we're just turning the corner and heading onto Water Street. And so here we have the Hedge House. And this is where it landed when it was moved from the its original site up on Court Street. And it is now the headquarters of the Plymouth Antiquarian Society. This is one of 4 properties that they own. And this one, it was built in 1809 for William Hammett, but then purchased by the Hedge family in 1830 and was home to Hedges right up until that point where it was moved and then turned into a museum. I highly recommend if you are able to visit. It is just a stunning example of federal architecture and just so lovingly restored and furnished. It's beautiful. So then moving a little bit along Water Street, we get down to the ferries making their daily trips to Pilgrim Wharf, dropping off all of the visitors. You can see quite busy. And we have all these gentlemen here ready to take the visitors to all of the hotels, various hotels and sites in Plymouth. But right on, oh, I should say, I love this. This is an interior of one of the ferries. And it's just so, I don't know, lavish, lush. Just really exquisite interiors for a ferry boat. I love it. I wish I could still travel this way. And then right on the corner here, we can see just a little bit of the first canopy that was over Plymouth Rock. We'll take a look at that next. So this is the canopy, the Hammett Billings canopy over Plymouth Rock. And you can see this is another one of those grand hotels. This is the Plymouth Rock Hotel right up here, right on the top of Coles Hill. It had stunning views. And again, sadly, it is lost. But Hammett Billings was an architect and an artist. And he also designed the Forefathers Monument, which we'll take a look at in a future session. But in this one right here, you can postcard, we can see how you have Coles Hill right above. And we're just going to take a quick look at this house right here. This is the Winslow Jackson House. It was built for Edward Winslow in 1754. There was a colonial revival renovation done in 1898 by Joseph Chandler. And it's now the home of the Mayflower Society. This is, not sure if it's open to the public quite yet, but they do have If you're doing any kind of research for your Mayflower ancestry, they are very helpful for that. I also want to let you know that this was the home, this is the location where Lydian Jackson married Ralph Waldo Emerson in the parlor of the house. And Lydian Jackson was an activist in her own right. She was very involved in the social causes of the day, abolitionist, women's rights, animals' rights, and also another prolific corresponder. Okay. So here we now are looking at Plymouth Rock, and we're looking at its second canopy. This was done by McKim, Mead and White, and something happens at the tercentenary. They really decided to do a drastic makeover in time for the celebrations. So the working waterfront with all of the wharves and the warehouses completely changed and demolished and created more of a park-like attraction for all of the visitors that would be coming to celebrate the tercentenary. So what we had before in our historic waterfront, again, we've got the wharves, we've got all of the warehouses, we have a lot of the storage buildings and a lot of the old buildings. This is again a location where there were a lot of older buildings that were seeing a lot of wear and tear. And again, these were mostly removed. And this is what was created. Again, we can see the McKim, Mead and White portico right here. And you can see it's much more of a park appearance. All of the wharves and all of the commerce has been kind of removed from it. So you can see at this point that Plymouth's tourism industry has kind of trumped the commerce and the manufacturing. And then some of the attractions that you could see right on the waterfront, right on top of Coles Hill, we have the statue to Massasoit, and we have the sarcophagus. This houses some of the bones that were found from time to time on Coles Hill when they had flooding situations. Coles Hill is the location of where it's believed that first horrible winter of the Pilgrims, where almost half of their Mayflower passengers died, and they were buried in Coles Hill. So over the course of time, some bones kind of became visible, and they were then placed in this sarcophagus right at the top of Coles Hill. And then down in the Town Brook area, you can see the fountain that was dedicated to the Pilgrim Mothers of the Mayflower. And of course, we have the Mayflower too, back in its birth, and after its major restoration. This first came to Plymouth in 1957, and we're very pleased to have it back again. And then down here, right in the State Park area, this is a recreation of the first Pilgrim, one of the first Pilgrim houses. This is the very beginnings of Pilgrim plantation. This is sort of their first step into recreating and presenting to the public. So this is right downtown. And then once they secured the land, Henry Hornblower and his family estate, that is when Pilgrim Plantation, now called Plymouth Patuxet, was developed just a little bit south of town. And, oh my goodness, all right, I've got to speed along here. So we're now back at the bottom of Leyden Street. This is the site of where that first common house was built. Right now, the house that you see on the site was built in 1795 for Captain William Barnes. And just heading up, looking west towards the top of Leiden Street. And again, you can see the First Parish Church again. And Elder Brewster Spring. This is a little mystery that I am trying to solve. I've heard it described as being at the top of Leiden Street. I've been looking on maps, and so far I've found 3 different locations for Pilgrim Springs. But I've found one description of this spring being located right at that intersection of Leiden and Main Street, and just a little bit further down where Mr. Burbank had his souvenir shop. And I have to admit, this does look like a younger Mr. Burbank right here. And A.S. Burbank, he had a stationery and souvenir shop in downtown for 50+ years. He is the person that we should thank for most of these postcard views. He was prolific in creating them. So I guess it would make sense to have this little tourist draw right next to his shop. And now we're kind of getting to the end of our tour. We're now crossing the new Main Street Bridge, heading south out of the center of the town. So this goes in, oh, and you can see the trolley right there crossing the bridge. And then a little bit down Water Street and down Sandwich Street. We have the Jabez Howland House, built around 1667. It's owned and operated as a museum by the John Howland Society. So this building is still exists and still operated as a museum by the same Howland family. And now we are heading up, and we are now back at our starting point. We are at the training green. This time we are looking east, so you can see the harbor right behind. And this is where we're going to finish up. And we have a few minutes for questions, but before we do that, I just wanted to thank everybody for joining me. And Tom, thank you very much, Tom. Our next part 2 is going to be Tuesday, May 18th at 11. And we're going to be taking a look at Wellingsley and Chiltonville villages. And let's see, do we have time for any questions?
I wanted to also thank Kelsey for being here, our new director, helping to get everybody in the room. Will there be more parts after part 2? Yes. And Julie, if you want to share part 3.
Okay, part 3. Oh, Tom, remind me.
Yeah, part 3, I believe, is the North and West Plymouth.
Okay. And I'm probably going to be throwing in Gurnet Point and Clark's Island in there as well. So to get to the maps, I highly recommend people going to the maps. Boston Public Library is a good source. They have an unbelievable map collection. And also go to the Library of Congress. They have also a stunning map collection. You can find both of those bird's eye maps. You can really zoom in and see the details. They're beautiful, plus other maps, like the ones that I used in the very beginning of the show.
And I just put the dates for parts 2, 3, and 4.
Okay. When was Water Street extended north from Townbrook area to the current traffic circle? Also, when were the current Town Wharf and State Pier built? Thanks. Okay, I am going to say that Water Street extended from north. Okay, if I'm remembering the maps, I think that is somewhere between the two maps. So it's going to be 1880s up until about 1910, in between that time slot. And the current town wharf, I am not quite sure. And the state pier, I don't know if anybody else has the answer to that one. Oh, and the Hedge House is also going to be participating in the Plymouth Yarn Pop starting May 1st. And all right, I think, yes, we can make the presentation available. I think I've got everybody's questions.
Fabulous job, Julie.
Thank
And
you very much.
it will be posted on our YouTube page. It'll probably be available sometime later this week. So we'll put a link to it on our Facebook page, and then we'll also put a follow-up link on our website for the
Okay.
YouTube channel. All right.
Thank you, Tom. All right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for joining. And I look forward to the next installment.